Hey guys, today in Art Club with Miss Burford, we'll be creating these stained glass effect Christmas tree pictures. You'll need either an A4 piece of card in a colour of your choice if you're doing this as a card, or an A5 piece of card in a colour of your choice if you're just doing this as a picture. A piece of A5 paper cut slightly smaller, a ruler, something round to draw around, and some colouring pens or sharpies for a bigger selection of shades of colours. This step is completely optional. This is just to give your picture a white border to frame your picture, but if you look at the end of the video you'll see I do an example without this frame, so it's up to you if you want to do this step or skip on to the next bit. If you do this step, I'd recommend doing this part at home so that you get some straight lines. Mine weren't perfect because my paper wasn't cut straight, but you just want to measure a centimetre in from the outer side of your piece of paper. Then this is where the kids can start drawing their own Christmas tree onto their picture. So you just want a triangle and then a little rectangle at the bottom for the base of your Christmas tree. And it's up to you if you start with a pencil to do this or to do this straight with a black pen. I have done both. There's pros and cons of both. So if you go straight in with the black pen, you get crisper lines and it takes less time in your lesson. But if you go in with a pencil, there's chances for the children to make mistakes. So I've done the pencil with younger children and the black pen with older children. Next, we're going to break up our picture into different sections using a ruler. So you're going to go from one side of your page to the other using a ruler to create a line at lots of different angles. As long as your line touches one side of the page to the other at some point, then that is perfectly fine. At this point you'll see some children have larger sections and others have smaller sections, and these are all perfectly okay. I then drew around something circular. I did these randomly on my page. As you can see, I did 3 circles. On some pictures you may get 4 or 5 circles. It is completely random. It just creates more sections and it just softens all those angles. On a scrap piece of paper you can test out your different shades of green to make sure they are different shades. If you haven't got enough shades of green, if you're just using normal felt tip pens rather than sharpies, then you could use blues and purples or greens and yellows to create your Christmas tree colours. I just like sharpies because they have a variety of colours, but if you're not using sharpies then you won't have to use a scrap piece of paper, so nothing will bleed through your page. When you're happy with your colour choices, you can start colouring the sections of your Christmas tree in. It's best to start with this bit first because it's easier to see what colours you need. So the idea is to colour different sections of your Christmas tree in different shades of green, but you don't want 2 of the same shade touching. So it's okay if they touch at a point, but not if they're next to each other. I really like to keep these Christmas tree pictures simple, but in Art Club I did allow the children to add baubles on the edge of the triangle and a star on top if they wanted to personalise their tree, but you don't really want to complicate the tree itself, just the outer edges, if that makes sense. As you can see the definition of the tree, so you can see the triangular shape. Even in the circles I've drawn the sections, I've coloured in the sections that would be green of the tree. And then this outer part we can start colouring in with warm colours, so you may want oranges, reds, pinks, entirely up to you. But you really want that green to contrast against the background so it pops. Just as a side note as well, I have done this lesson where we've done presents instead of trees, or a star as well, so it doesn't have to be a Christmas tree in the middle. You can adapt this lesson completely, but just have the same principles of drawing your shape first and then going across it with the lines and the circles after. Don't forget about the base of your Christmas tree. I like to use browns, black or grey for this part, as you've already used orange in your background if you've done the same as me. If you've gone more pinks and reds instead, then you could do orange and brown instead for your base. The next step is to fold your card in half if you're doing this as a card. And don't forget you want it to open like a book, so from the right hand side it will open to the left as you open it. I did forget to mention earlier though that you'll want some Pritt stick to glue your picture onto your card, and at this point this is where you can see why I had scrap paper under my picture whilst I was colouring it in. As you can see, it bled through quite well with those Sharpies. But you're going to put this on the front piece of your card or on your A5 piece of card if you're just doing this as a picture, and you are finished. And just for comparison, this is a picture that I've done as an example for another class where we are doing pencil first and then black pen after. You'll notice though that the lines don't line up as well when I go over them, and with the circles I did them freehand, and again they're not as good looking, they're not as great to finish then. You'll also notice that this picture doesn't have a border, so you can see for yourself if you'd rather do your picture with or without a border. I personally like that white trim to define the picture and the card colour. For this picture I just stuck it onto A5 card and we just did it as a picture. You'll be able to see it in my thumbnail. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more art lessons like this every week and other art related content every now and then. See you next week for more Art Club with Miss Burford.